Let's just read the bracha and let's see what the notes are that he has there, and we'll go down to number 9. We'll flip the page, and they have the Motzer Shabbos and the Shehecheyanu, and we'll go through those. He said, Baruch Atah Hashem, and then he shows the name Hashem. This is like Chagat, but at any rate, let's just assume that maybe that's it. Anyway, it's benukad with segulim, so therefore we understand that this is dealing with chesed, or this is dealing with zeranpin, or those things like that. Elokeinu melech olam asher bachar bana mikol am. So he says zeranpin shebirarnu ben akalis. So he says what? He says bachar bana mikol am. He says this kol am, is that what it means? Zeranpin shebirarnu ben akali, which was pulled up out of the kali. Romamu, so Romamu means Teferis. He says, Mikal Lashon, V'kidshana b'mitzvaysav, b'sol chachma b'bina, not seeing any kesher between these things necessarily. So let's see, because he's moving up, he went up to chachma b'bina. Petita and Lanach Hashem, chachma, he gave us chachma, Elokeinu is bina, ba'ava. So he said, well, ba'ava, so he says, the Shabbos, Shabbos, the Menucha, the Muadim, the Simcha, Chagim, Uzmanim, the Sasam. He has an insert for Shabbos. As Yom Chag HaMatzos Hazeh, Shuhu Knesses Moach HaChochma B'Zer Anpin. So he says, Chag HaMatzos Hazeh is Knesses Moach HaChochma B'Zer Anpin, for the Chain Hu Yom Tov, and so therefore it's a Yom Tov. Why? Because the Haknasa of Chochmah, it's an expanded consciousness. As Yom Tov Mikra Kodesh Hazeh Zaman Cheruseinu, this day, so on and so forth. Knesses Mochin the Abba Mizdaveg Im Imo. So he says, let's see the words. He says, as Yom Tov Mikra Kodesh Hazeh. So this holy gathering. Zaman Cheruseinu, then it says the time of our freedom. So he says, Knesses Mochin the Abba Mizdavegim Ima, and that goes along the concept of Cheruseinu. Mikra Kodesh Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim, Ki Bana B'charta B'Sana Kidash B'Kolo Amem, Umoadei Kodshecho, he said, V'Simcha B'Sason, Hin Chaltanu, Baruch Atah Hashem, and then he shows us the same name again, this Nikudos. So he had said previously that Zer Anpin, we're dealing with Zer Anpin, who was Mivarer from the Kali. So he said, Mekadesh Yisroel v'Hazmanim. So then he says, number 9. After you said that, you brought in the mochin of Chochmah. Then it says, number 9, he says, Yachzer v'yakav b'bechinas or Makif. Let's look at number 9. He says, Yachzer v'yakav or Makif, kol HAKAVANOT ad ata, everything that we dealt with here. Ba'achisis HaKos, you're holding on to the cup. Hu b'or Penimi. Because the mochin come as a result of your holding on to the kos, which is an action, which is a maisa. So maisa apparently goes along with mochin penimim, and the words themselves. But now you're saying the bracha itself. Or makif, you're causing them also to be mumshach or mamshich as a mochim b'chein b'bechinas or makif. Then you're also bringing a makif, so you have to think of that also, because you're now going to be saying these words. Kevin shal klalhu shal yedecha b'maisa nimshachim mochim b'nimim v'al yedecha b'diba nimshachim mochim makifim. So let's go on to the next part. And we have a piece up at the top which is fairly straightforward, which says in Motzer Shabbos, this is what we say when we have to say Havdalah. So let's skip down to a little bit down to the HAKAVANOT HaMatbeah Brachah. So he's not going to show us here the Matbeah Brachah again. So he goes through, just shows us here the Bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem. Trying to look for what, okay. Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu Melech Olam, Shehecheyanu. So at Shehecheyanu, who's is Lashon, bringing life to us. So he writes in this little blurb on the side, he says, Yekaven Shehecheyanu, Hainu Tanim, the Ima. This is the Tferes Netzachod Yisod and Malchus. So this is the lower half of Ima. Haniknas, in other words, the Zat, and Zer Anpin, the Bechem Dalet Ekya, and they have when these, let me see, he says, when the Tanim comes in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 5 things. The Ima, Mekniknasim Bezecha Ubechem Ekya, Ubechem Dalet Ekya, their Vasha Olam, Kamisbar Chayeno. We come to the gematria of Chayeno. So he says, this is how you divide it up. He says you have Ekya refers to Tiferes. The next Ekya refers to the Netzach and Hod, Yisod, and then the final Ekya is Malchus De'ima. All of those coming in, I called it the Zat, depends on how you count it up. He has a Nun Aleph here, and the Nun Aleph says like this. Yikaven Shem Shehei Shehecheyanu. Hainu, it refers to 5 Sfiros, the Tanim, Tiferes, Netzachod, Yisod, and Malchus. The Ima Haniknas Bezer Anpin, which is now coming into Zer Anpin. Ubechem Daled Ekya, and along with them comes 4 Ekyas. Now Ekya I know refers to Ima, but we'd also been talking about as a Lavush. So he says, that's the 4 Ekyas that we're talking about up there. He says, Sha'olim b'misbar chayenu, they come to our lives, which is our lives, Hachayanu, or give us the life force, let's say. Because Shehecheyanu v'zecha b'chu kavana. Because Shehecheyanu, zehu kavana, this is the kavana. Os hey, the Shehecheyanu. What does it refer to? Romans al chamisha spheres the ima haniknasa bezat. So that's what we used to call the zat of ima, which is godless. I think godless rishon ve'hem tiferes netzachod yisod and malchus the ima. V'levi shehem spheres the ima near mazim called achad with the name Ekya. Lefi sheshem Ekya hu be'ima, because the name of Ekya it refers to Ima, like I said, and Amnam Netzachod. So then we look at like this. Netzachod, Kevin Shehem Trey Pal Gegufis, since actually really they're one half of each one of us a half. Hem Nechshava the Bechina Achas, they're considered as if they are one Bechina. V'lechein Yesh B'Shneihem Shem Ekya Echad, so therefore that's the reason why you have 4 Ekyas and not 5. We said that already. And they're really recognized by the letters of Cheva. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 letters there. I got that right. It's right. Those are the 5 letters. What does that do for me? Peidalad, he says Kamisber Osius Chayenu, which is the gematria of the same thing. So there you go with Chayenu. Let's go back over to Vikiyamanu. And we have the word Vikiyamanu. So Chayenu, he says, I'm not good at really understanding these gematrias and how, I guess he just wants to say there's matches there. So he said, Vikiyamanu, gematria Rayo. So Kiyamanu, surprisingly enough, is gematria Rayo. The Gimel Milui Av, which is the Milui, which is called Av. Shehem HaMochen is their Anpin. The same Mochen is their Anpin. And I'm going to hold off and we're going to do number Nun Bet real quickly and then come back to Nun Gimel. And he said, V'kaimenu gematria Rayo. Now, Rayos, I thought, was the sweetened din, Shehem Hamochin de Zavat. He says that this Rayo that we're talking about, which is it's Lashon Kiyum. So he said, so again, V'kiyamanu, he said, Gematria Rayo, Shehem Hamochin de Zeranpin. Tevis Kaimenu, V'kiyamanu, rather, Olam B'Misbarayo. Shehem Romazin the Shlosha Shemos Av, and it's a reference to these three names of Av, and he shows you three names of Av. He says, Olam Mizbarayo, Vehema Shlosha Mochin de Zer Anpen, and he says, these are the three Mochin of Zer Anpen, and I suppose when he says three, he means Chachma Bina Das, and without splitting the Das. So then the next word that we come to, going back up to the top again, it's v'kiyamanu gematria rayo the gimel milui av shehu hamochin dezer anpen. So these mochin dezer anpen. So it's a little confusing to me. He shows us zer anpen at the beginning, a menukad with the segel, which is says you're bringing up zer anpen. And now he says that what you're doing is you're bringing in the mochin of zer anpen. So you brought up zer anpen, and now you're bringing the mochim and the v'higianu, and he brought us to, let's see what he wants to say about that down below. He says, number nun gimel, v'higianu yekaven shehagia gematria loshen shlosha havayos, im yud beis osius, together it's three havayos with the 12 letters, hainu, haga, gematria shlosha havayos. So this word higiano, so we're taking higiano. Let's take the first part of it. Let me make sure I got this right. So these letters, hey, gimel, and ayin of higiano, and left out the yud. Gematria shlosha havayos actually has the gematria of three havayos. A misbach yud kolok v'klalos of the three, hem yud base havaya. Now let's say I didn't really understand that too well, so let's see what the Tiv comes and helps us with. He says osius higia, those letters, metevet v'higianu. Romans the Shlosha Shemas Havaya im Yud Beis Osius Sheyesh Bem Shlosha Havayas. The three Havayas is 3 times 4 is 12. So he not moving with the mochin, which are all avs. Here he seems to be talking just about those letters. So B'Shlosha Havaya She'Osius Haga, those three letters, the bottom by themselves without the yud in it, Mispar Ayin Chas, it comes to the gematria 78. 78 is Shuhu Mispar Shlosha Shemos Havaya, which is the count of, if you multiply Havaya times 3, you get 78. So he says Va'os Hayud Anosafis Bechagias, because that's an odd letter. It's on the outside. But Sir Fakolo shall Os Hayud, so you also join in the Kolel for the Ros of Yud. But Sir Fakolo shall Osius Haga, and joining it together with the combination of these three letters. Hare Nosif Od Yud Base, it brings you another 12. Haromas the Yud Beis Osius, this is a reference to the 12 letters, Sheyesh B'Shlosha Shemas Havaya. So let's go on. We went to number Gimel, and let's read on to, let's see, we're to number Nun Daled, I see it. So in my book, I have this all marked in yellow. I used to do that just to stay busy and try to look at it, but it was so difficult for me then. Shehagia, that phrase hagia, gematria shlosha havayas b'shutos, im yud beis osius, together with its 12 letters. The haina haga, a gematria shlosha havayas, is actually 78. On mizbach hayud, then the count of the yud, v'klalus, the other three letters, comes to 12. So then you say, so he shows it to us, Havaya, Havaya, Havaya. So he says, Od Yekavan Bishlosha Nu Shahachayanu Vikiyamanu Vihiyanu. So you have all those three news, which is Gematria 56. Sha'odel Begematria Shlosha Kochos. There's an interesting phrase. Three powers of the, he calls it Kochos, the Asam, Shebenai the Ima, which are down in the Nai of Ima, which are going to come into Zer Anpin. Those are the Mochim. Maluvashin Vishlosha Kochos the Kasa, and they're all Maluvash. And there, once again, we see that Ekya in a Melui goes like that. So the Kasa, Kamag, and Nai, the Ima, they're all rolled over by them. B'niknasib is Zer Anpin, Umasham the Yesod the Nook, and they enter into Zer Anpin, and from there, they go into the Yesod of the Nook. Okay, so that was, we did number Nun Gimel, so we're on number Nun Daled. What are we doing here? You know, when we're doing this always confuses me, because when you're doing the gematrias, he's really showing you how these are all related to something else. So let's go on to number Nun Daled. Od Yakava Bishlosha News that come with the Hekiyana B'Giyamanu B'Giyamanu B'Kiyamanu B'Higiyanu Sha'olim, excuse me, Shehekiyana Kiyamanu B'Higiyanu Sha'olim B'Gematria Shlosha Kochos the Asam. Now he calls them Kochos, which are the Mochim. Shebenai the Ima, which are in the Nai the Ima. Why does he call them Kochos? I don't know. Meluvashim B'Shlosha Kochos, another set of Kochos, which are this Kasa, Kamag. So he says it like this. Each one of the four is Kasa, Kamag, denied the Ima. Those are all covered over there. The Mibisham, the Yesod, the Nook, and from there, ultimately, they're going to go into the Yesod of the Nook. Now, what does he mean here by going into the Yesod of the Nook? Od Kavana Yesh B'Shlosha B'Teva Shehechiyana B'Kiyamana B'Hiyanu. Ba'osius Nu, with the letters which are Nun involved, which are Gematria 56. Shebekol echad mechem hare lanu shlosha pa'amim osios nun. So he says, because in each one of them, we find that there were shlosha pa'amim osios nun. Okay, that's true. Shehechiyana v'kiyamana v'higiyana v'guvana v'osios nudhu. So when you're saying this, we're really mekavein. We need to be mekavein on the last three letters, or last two letters, nu. L'shnei pa'amim koach, and he says, and then the Shnei Pamim Koach Osis, the two times that there's 28 letters, Sheyesh B'Milui and Milui Shal Shema. So let's see what he did there. He said, so we're talking about the number 56. So he says 56 divided by 2 is what? 28. Is that right? So he says who? That's our 28. 28 we know refers to the Milui of the Milui of these particular letters, so that comes out to be 28. Now, what do we get out of that? What do I understand about what this does? Koach osios sheyesh b'milui hamilui shel hashemos. Dehine hamilui the milui shel kol shem yesh koach osios. Okay, that was it. Ubekol svira yesh bechinas Abba, and every svira has an aspect of Abba. Abba's chachma. Sheyesh Bracha b'Shem Havaya b'Milui, which has, the Chachma has in the name Havaya in a Milui. So, Vahu Mislavish be'ima, and then this Abba, I'm going to read that part again. Sheyesh Shem Akya b'Milui, V'kol Echad Yesh Koch Osios. Now, let me see what we're talking about here. I'm still confused about where we got the 28. He says, the Milui shall shame Yesh Koach Osios. So we know that all of these three names have 28 letters in the Milui. Now I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. So because Sphira Yesh Bechinas Abba. So he says why? Because in every sphere there's an aspect of Abba. I always will say what Abba is dominant in this. I don't know why he said that. So he says Sheyesh Bo Shem Havaya B'Milui, that the Abba is always a Havaya in a Milui form. So let's say Ab. V'hu mislavish be'ima, he's clothed inside of Abba, of Ima. She'ei Bacha b'shem Akia b'milui, where the Akia is there going to be in a milui form. So now you have the milui of Abba and you have the milui of Ima. Of call echad, each one of them, that is of the Asam, there are 28 letters in the milui of the milui. I think that's what he means. Nibsa shebakal sphera yesh shnei bechinas koach. So every sphera has this aspect of 28. So what is it, 28? V'yachad hem misbar nu. And together come together to the gematria of 56. V'yesh shlosha pamim nu ela. So you have nu 3 times. Echad b'netzach the Abba v'ima. Echad b'hod the Abba v'ima. V'echad b'yisod the Abba v'ima kamo shemevar v'holech. He's going to explain this further. I'm not sure how he got to 28. The milui is 10. So what they get to, how to get to the milui of the 10 is 28. Not sure what that meant exactly. So now we have an image. And let's take a look at the tamuna, the image, what do we call it? And let's just take a look at it. Just without reading any of the blurbs, little things he has on the side to introduce it. Well, he says this is Shehechiyanu. This first one is Shehechiyanu. The second one is Kiyamanu. And the final one is Vihigiyanu. Now, what he says, he shows us here are the 28 letters. I'm taking this medicine and it makes me burp. I have like all kinds of things. I have sneezing in the morning. I start sneezing. I take a pill to keep me from sneezing. I have allergies. In this mango season, I have mangoes. So I don't know if that's what it is. So he says Yud K. So he says he shows you the 20 letters, and then it turns out that there's all the 28 letters in Kas. Then on the other side he has the Sag. That was Av. On the next side he has the Sag. 28 letters that are the milui is Sag, and the 28 letters are the milui the Kas. And the final one, that was on the word V'kiyamanu. So I guess I have to read that again, so I'll do it in a minute. V'higiyanu gematria base koach dema. So the word higiyanu, he says, is base 220, base gematria base koach dema. So he shows you, I'm not sure why we went over this way, but he says the 28. And then he says the koach, the kamag, is also the same thing. And then he has the word yesod at the bottom. So let's go back over here and let's look at number nun hey. So once again, nun hey is going to be simple enough, shows we're dealing with the nu that's at the end. Let me see. Let me just push this in. We're dealing with the letter nu that's at the end of Shehechiyanu. And Higiyamanu, the same thing, and Higiyanu, we're doing the same thing. So what is it that we're doing? That's the question by bringing these 56s, these 28s. We know the 28s in other places. The milui is what completes the Anabakoch, not the Anabakoch, but the name of 42. That's something I know about it. And previously he had used the word koach. And I said, why did he use the word koach? Because koach is a gematria 28. So the words are Shehechiyanu kiyamanu gematria base koach. It's 228s. V'kiyamanu gematria base koach. V'higiyanu gematria base koach. So that's the koach he's talking about. Does that have a different meaning also? Does it mean that somehow the milui is the power? I don't know. I don't know that much about what the milui does. So now let's see if we see something. Milui shel shem av. He just says it. He shows it to us here again. And there are 28 letters, he said. V'shem av hazeh hu benatzach to Abba. Where do you find it? You find it on the right side of Abba as is coming into Zer Anpin. So they're just thinking back of something that we learned before, and that was, he said that the Zer Anpin, because I asked a question, I said, why does why is Zer Anpin if we switch over to, where did I see it? I'm not good at going backwards. when we started the bracha. Oh, there it was. It's on number Mem Zion on page Shin Mem Ches, where he shows the Chavaya with the Nikud of Chesed, so which refers to Zer Anpin. So he said that this was brought up out of the Kali. This is out of the Kali. So he says Milui Amilui Shashem Av is like this, and he showed it to us again, and there are 28 letters. B'Shem Av Hazechu Hu B'Netzach the Abba. It's on the right side of Abba coming into Zer Anpin. V'Hu Meluvish B'Netzach the Ima, and always it rides like this. She Shem Kasa Umilui Amilui Shaloch B'Hu Kazeh, and then it's Milui. The Milui looks like this. V'im HaKolol Yesh Bo Koach Osius, and you put it together with the Kolol, then you're going to have 28 letters. Shnei Koach Elu, so he had to add them, had to add a Kolol onto it. So he says the 28 letters Elu Olam Nisbarnu Shehu Nu the Shechianu. Hod the Abba, so we could say he's going to say the same thing. He says Hod the Abba Hu Shem Sag, and the Milui Shalo Hu Kazeh, and he comes out to be 28 letters. Now, this is you have different kinds of things going on here. You have a number which is 28, and he's counting the number. Now, you didn't have to count the number, but he does that. So this is what we see happening. So who meluvish behod the ima he gam came shem kasa, and he shows it to you like this. He says v'ima kola. You have to add the kolel onto the kasa. So there's another rule where the Rashash or the Rav can add on a kolel. V'ima kolel yesh bo koach osios. So that's the 28s, and it's wrapped in 28s. Hare shnei koach elu olin misbernun. So 28 is 56. V'hu nu dekai kiyamanu. Then he says the Yesod Abba is a Shema. Milui Shalo is like this, and he says therefore, and it's 28 letters. B'yesh bo koach osios. V'hu meluvish b'Yesod the Ima. It's closed in the Yesod the Ima, as we understand. Shehu Shem Kamag, which is Kamag Milui, and Milui Shalo is Kazeh. He shows us the Milui and the Milui. And all the 28 letters, 27 letters, V'ima Kola, you have to have you have to add a Kola onto it. Then you get back to the Koach again. Now, to me, this is fancy footwork. I'm trying to find what's the core of the idea here, that by using this, adding a Kolel on and matching them. I understand you're matching them, so you're matching. That's how you match them. Harishnei Koach Elo Olam Misbarnun, and so once again you have these two 28s. They come to the gematria of Nun Vav, V'hu Nun Vav the Hikiyanu. That's where we're at right now. Let's look up at number Nun Vav. How are we doing time-wise? We're running out. So the man, so lo zaman v'niknosim v'zer anpen hazeh. So Shechianu v'Hikiyanu Hikiyanu l'zman hazeh. This word hazeh is the number 1217. Hainu l'chagat. Shalo umisham lanuk, and from there to the nook. Well, the whatever the process is that comes to the nook, I'm assuming that it comes from Zer Ampen into the nook. So let's look at number Nun Vav. Lizman v'niknasim v'Zer Ampen. So first he starts with the word lazman. I missed that. Lazman, for this time. Hazeh hainu lachagat shalo. This refers to going into the Chagat, umisham lanuk, and for there it's going to travel over to the Nuk. So he's bar ad kan, so explaining up to this point. Hamshachas emochin da abba ve'imach b'teva shehachiyanu, that would have to be done with the word shehachiyanu v'kiyamanu v'hiyanu, those three words. V'atem mekaven shenim shachin lamocha elo l'zay, that these are the additional, or maybe these same mochin are going to spread into Zer Anpin, v'zecha mekavin b'tevet lizman. And for this, you have to have the kavanah for the word lizman. What does lizman mean? Shenimshkach hamochen the zer anpen of the zman, the zamen, the man, the v'tevis hazeh, and this word hazeh, which is 12:17, as before mekavin, we have the kavana as seder hamshakasam, how they are going to flow down bazer anpen into zer anpen, hanosin shefes zechel the nook, who ultimately will deliver it to the nook. Shebedechila nimshach and hamochen the chagadazah. V'achachach nimshach the yisod the zah. Misham Nimshachim El Hamalchus, and then from there it's going to go to Malchus. Let's do number Nod Zion. If we read a little bit of it, if at a minimum. So it says in number Nod Zion, he says, let me bring it down. Sorry. Ogashe Yishte. So now you're going to actually drink the wine. So you're going to have this kavana to pour down, to stream down portions of the chasadim chelke hachasada de Leah, derek garon zer anpen, through the throat of zer anpen. Leah is located on the back of the throat of zer anpen. The or penimi the Yaakov Rachel, and ultimately a or penimi the Yaakov Rachel. So this is when you drinking the wine. The chelak gavuras de Leah yotzim derek haped zer anpen lor Makif the Yaakov Rachel, as an or Makif for Yaakov and Rachel. Let's see if we could do just a little bit of this one. Number Nun Zion. Nun Zion says, let's skip to the light print. I think that was the shear for today. So we're going to stop at this point. And thank you for listening. This is Baruch Fleischman. Whoops, I'm supposed to be saying the Saba, but what could I do?